Hello and welcome, members of the Wandaverse. I'm Hannah, and you're listening to Into the Wandaverse, your number one source for all things Scarlet Witch and Friends. And this...
Producer Nick, hello!
Welcome! So we have just watched episode 3 of Agatha All Along, and we will definitely be giving you a review. And I know that out there are some leaks.
There's no leaks.
There's no leaks?
There's no leaks.
Smith's Toys didn't,
No.
Okay.
Didn't happen.
Don't worry. We will discuss them, but we're going to discuss the episode first as though we don't know the leaks. And then we will have a segment at the end of the show where we'll do leaky thoughts. Just to keep it so that anyone who wants to try and preserve the mystery can. If you have managed to avoid them, bully for you.
It's all over the socials.
Yep. So, we're gonna do our best to do a non-spoilery bit and a spoilery bit. But before we do any of that, you know what we gotta do? It's the news.
It's the news.
There's so much news this week.
There's so much news.
Do you know any of the news, or should I fire away the news?
I think you should fire away the news.
Oh, you think I should fire away? Okay, thank you. So, of course, we have had more Agatha All Along merch released. As of now, the Disney collection is now publicly available in the US. You can get any of it. You don't need a Disney Plus subscription. But if you're watching Agatha All Along, I kind of imagine that you already have a Disney Plus subscription, but I don't want to pressure one of those to get them. Pressure anyone to get them.
Yeah.
Also, we've had some very interesting movements in the Scarlet Witch segment. As in, there has been a Marvel cover go up for a comic that is called an MCU cover for Scarlet Witch 6, which would make no sense unless there was some sort of Wanda connection, because that issue's not releasing till November. So I have this feeling that whatever the Agatha finale brings, it might bring something Wandery.
Are you just getting ready to shout vindication like Captain Holt?
I think about that every day. I'm already kind of feeling that with some of these leaks, but I'm already vindication every time there's another crumb. Also, all the leakers, all the spoilery accounts over on Twitter are saying that Wanda is set to play a major role in the upcoming Mutant Saga. The chat is very much out there. I do believe there's no smoke without a fire.
Yeah, I mean, some of the subreddits I follow, very much the leak ones are picking up a lot of Scarlet Witch news. Again, it is that case of whether, no smoke without fire. The last time I saw anything like this was Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
It's very much giving.
It's giving those kind of vibes on
I just don't think that Lizzie would be allowing herself to talk about this so much on the promo tour, because she's on and she doesn't seem annoyed by it either. On the Three Daughters.
You have seen her movie. You've seen that movie. How was it?
I loved it. It made me cry my eyes out. It was very understated. It almost gave... I don't think it was filmed in lockdown, but because it was so kind of claustrophobic and in this one room, it really gave kind of...
Because it's her, Carrie Coon, and...
Natasha from Orange is the New Black.
Yes, I know who
you know who I mean.
Yes.
They're amazing. It's so heartbreaking. I watched it and cried a bunch of different times. Then I just sat down and watched a bunch of Lizzie Olsen movies for a wee while. I watched Wind River and also Kill Your Darlings.
Yep.
One of my comfort movies.
That's an odd comfort movie.
I like Daniel Radcliffe in that movie.
Yeah.
It was very on Tumblr during that period of time.
Yeah.
We have an Agatha Hallmark ornament coming out. It is already on their website and available in stores. Sales One Studios have also released a bunch more merch for Agatha All Along, exclusively with Hot Topic for now. But if we just show that there's demand, guys, stuff will come over. We are willing this merch into existence. We're willing Wanda back. It is very much audience driven. Marvel want to know what is going to be a guaranteed success. That's what they're looking for now. They are very much banking on things that are going to just be successes for them.
That's what drives them, is that the ultimate at the end of the day is toy sales. It does drive things, and if you want something badly enough, if you're purchasing the merch, if you're purchasing the toys, and there is engagement with it, then there will be in theory should be a return on that.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, we're seeing it with like the 8-bit Funkos, dropping another bit of news, released this week into Target. We don't know where they'll be in the UK yet, but I've heard it's probably going to be Funko Europe. So just keep refreshing the website, basically, is what my Funko insiders have told me. We see Wanda's the only girl in the lineup now. They were very much trying for that to be Captain Marvel for a while. She was the girl. Once they kind of decided Natasha was out of rotation, they very much went for Captain Marvel as our stock girl, and now it's very much Wanda. And I think she will. I just do think, because she's a witch and like her powers are very pretty, I think that they sense that she can sell to young girls, which is what they're looking for. They are looking now to suck in the next generation of Marvel watchers. They very much know that a lot of their established audience are going to hate whatever they put out, no matter what they put out.
Yep.
They want to recapture like young audiences who are watching Spidey and Friends. It's why we're getting like 4 Spider-Man projects allegedly, and why I think that they are testing a young magic school with House of Harkness the comic, which releases every week on a Wednesday. That's some more news for you. Do check that out on the Marvel Unlimited app. It is a wonderful, wonderful comic, which is just such beautiful animation, and it is a beautiful artwork. And if you just want a fun little light-hearted look at Wanda, it's really for you, and I feel like they're very much testing the same way they did with Jeff the Landshark, kind of what will play well with a young audience. And I do think this has the capability to be like Sabrina the Teenage Witch in its, and I just think that that's out there. I think that Marvel is testing kind of where the brand is going to go. People keep saying they're going to reset the MCU, but they've spent so much money on the theme parks that look exactly like the current MCU. So why would they?
They're not going to redo the MCU. There's I mean, rewatched Multiverse of Madness a while ago, and Incursion popped up quite a lot. Incursion, if anybody isn't aware, is when two worlds collide. I think that's kind of where Doomsday and Secret Wars are coming into effect. My hot theory with that is that Robert Downey Jr. plays Victor Von Doom, not Doctor Doom, and is therefore variant. There was a piece of gossip that apparently Wanda's love interest in this movie is going to be that version of Robert Downey Jr., Doctor Doom, and that is horrifying when you think about it.
That is so awful, and I really hope that's not true.
I don't think it is true. It just doesn't make any sense.
I do think we're moving towards Children's Crusade. You know what Children's Crusade is, right?
I'm aware of Children's Crusade.
I do think that that's where we stand, basically, is they are wanting a Young Avengers project, and I think that they were originally going to have a Young Avengers project. They realize it's probably not going to be successful, and they're going to pivot towards a Scarlet Witch movie.
The Young Avengers, the actors that they were setting up to be Young Avengers are no longer classed as young people.
I mean, Haley Steinfeld never was. She was a woman in her mid-20s when they cast her, which is the same as Elizabeth Olsen when she started playing Wanda. I think it's too risky to put a bunch of teens on set, and then they were like, just cast all the actors, but like, they're not children.
Nope.
So that's the news for this week is a bit chaotic, but if you want more up-to-date, like everyday updates on news, you can just check out my TikTok. I post everything as it comes out. Usually it will be more structured, but while we're doing these reviews, it's kind of going to be a little bit more chaotic on the podcast. But I guess we get into our non-spoiler thoughts on the new episode of Agatha, as in like before we even go into the...
Before we start talking anything to do with leaks. That didn't happen. Definitely didn't happen.
And they didn't come from a British brand. We did not.
We, as British people, should take no responsibility in this.
Okay.
So non-spoilery thoughts. Hannah, did you want to go first?
I really thought that this was it very much has given me the structure of WandaVision, in that this episode relatively kind of, I mean, plot-wise, I think we got a lot of tidbits of what's going to be important in the future. This wasn't a heavy episode, really. It didn't. I wish that these seasons were longer. Mm-hmm. And I wish the episodes were longer, because I feel like this episode was very fun. I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed kind of getting to see who these women are, and also the teen, in terms of the scenario that they're in. But I feel like I would be more resigned to kind of like, there was tension in the episode, but like less high stakes episodes if we had a longer season to go through, or if the episode was longer and we, like, nothing was bad. The episode itself was not in any way bad, and I really enjoyed it, and I just wish I could watch the next one right now, because I'm invested in the story and in the characters. But my issue is that, like, I only got half an hour of content for this week, and, like, I want more, and that didn't feel like, for waiting all week, I didn't feel like it was enough of the story to be going along with.
It kind of links in with my thoughts a little bit. I thought it was the weakest of the three so far. I think it kind of lacked a bit of focus, and because there's so many protagonists, that it's just there wasn't enough time to kind of sit there and really ruminate. The idea that you said that these episodes aren't long enough and there aren't enough of them has been one of my thoughts about Marvel series and just streaming series in general for a long time. You know, I want us to go back to the era of 21, 22 episode seasons.
We're doing that with Daredevil, aren't we? Daredevil.
Of about 45 minute episodes. The era of Buffy, if we're kind of keeping with the supernatural theme, and you know, this episode traditionally probably would have been a two-parter, or you know, at least would have had a 40-minute episode leading up to where they end up going, and then 40 minutes of it would have been a bit more stretched out. We'd have had a bit more time with these characters, and rather than having there's a ticking clock in it where it was went very quickly, like it probably would have been a bit more longer and been able to play, and we were able to got a lot more, which we'll go into in spoilers, but we'd able to got a lot more meat in the episode. So for my thoughts, I think I said it was the kind of the weakest of the three, and that may have something to do with the fact that we had a two-parter to begin with, pretty much, which was like one after the other. We got a lot of questions and answered, and a lot of things kind of brought to the fore, and it was very much.
I'm so jealous of people that get to watch all 9 of them in a row. Like, again, I do enjoy a weekly release. I like looking forward to it. I like the conversations and the theories that we get to develop every week. So I wouldn't have actually wanted them to drop the whole thing in one go, because I think it kills buzz.
Yep.
And I think that The Mandalorian did very well, and that's obviously what they've been following is The Mandalorian's success in terms of and WandaVision worked in terms of weekly releases. Though we did have a huge leak for WandaVision when that was coming out. It's kind of become our tradition as a fandom. Remember when the Pietro pictures leaked?
Yes.
That was so fun. What a day on Twitter. What a day.
What a day. The idea that they've gone back to the weekly releases rather than the traditionally when streaming kind of kicked off, it was we're just going to dump everything all at once. But what quickly became apparent was that streaming companies like Netflix, like Amazon and Disney Plus, when they kind of kicked off, realized that they couldn't drive the conversation anymore. Like, you drop everything all at once, it drives the conversation for 1 or 2 days, and then everybody kind of moves on. And unless you kind of get something like an actual phenomenon,
like Tiger King
or Squid Game, Bridgerton, which drops all at once and then everybody's talking about it, like, you're kind of missing that weekly in and out, you know, what's going to happen next week. And, you know, think about how much popular culture was driven week in, week out when Game of Thrones was being released.
Yeah.
You know, everybody was talking about what was going to happen week in, week out. And Disney and Disney Plus have realized this by allowing their content to be these weekly releases, which is great because it allows us to ruminate and actually properly get into it and rewatch these episodes if we wanted to before the next week, and rather than being like, right, I'm just going to sit here and watch it all at once, which is nothing wrong with doing. I imagine there are a lot of our listeners which will probably maybe listen to this, you know, in a few weeks' time when all the episodes are released all at once. But you know, that goes back to my point that, you know, yeah, we're now at a weekly schedule, but maybe we need a bit more than just 8 or 9 episodes. Maybe give it 15, 20.
Also an hour. I just feel like this could...
Yeah, 45 minutes to an hour.
I think if the potion... Like, again, I think conceptually it was fine. Having a pretty simple...
Yeah.
I think the hallucinations need to be longer. I loved each hallucination. I thought they...
That's more spoilery talk.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that we were in the absolutely no spoilers section. Oopsies! I just think that the task itself should have been an hour.
Yeah.
The episode should have been an hour. And I think we should have spent longer on explaining the rules of Witch's Road. Like, we're brushing over the road and exploring what that looks like.
Yeah.
They've built this physical set and I want to be there.
Yeah.
I am obsessed with the set. I think it looks incredible. And it, like, I don't feel... Like, I feel immersed when I'm watching it. And I want to spend time... I want to see how the characters walk on the road. I want to know like, you know, this for each of the characters, this road has huge significance, and I just want to like explore that with them.
Well, that's the thing with when you're comparing it with, you know, its sister show, WandaVision. We got to know that house inside and out because we spent so much time in that house. Even when it changed through the eras, we grew to understand what that house looked like. Even, you know, and understood what it looks like, and be in that space, and truly understand what it means for Wanda and for Viz, and you know, eventually the two boys. So this, you know, we are only on episode 3, and we've been on the road less than 30 minutes at this point on screen time. So maybe, you know, in episodes to come, that the road will kind of be talked about and uncovered a little bit more. Did you want to get into spoiler thoughts? Because I feel like we're kind of skirting
I think
around
we'll now go into spoilers purely for this episode.
Purely for the episode.
Purely for the episode. Again, if you don't want to hear leaks, you're good. This is just, you need to have seen the episode to hear the thoughts. Yeah, to go back to what I was saying, because I was on a train of thought.
Sure.
I think that the hallucinations were brilliant.
Yes.
Each one was so interesting, and did not give too much away. But I still think they each could have been linger on the point a little bit longer.
Yes.
I also think it was a good dramatic effect to have Sharon experience her hallucination without seeing it, and then go to them experiencing it. I think the only one that didn't need to be longer was Agatha's. I think we got what we needed to see. Obviously, we were doing heavy-handed clues this episode towards everything to do with that. But I think that definitely, especially Lilia's, needed to be so much more. I want to spend a little bit more, and I also wish they were giving. I love Lilia's character. She really isn't giving what she gave in the comics. I wish they had just given her a new name, because I don't feel like we're at all following her story from the comics. And so I think they might as well just have made an original witch.
Yeah.
Like, they made Darcy for Thor. There's no reason to not create their own lore. I think each hallucination was so interesting, and so I just wanted to... Again, I don't think there's a single character in this show right now that I'm like, why are you here? Like, what's your point? And because there are so many of them that we've all met at once, we know Agatha well enough. And they know that. But, like, especially, like, we got that little moment with Alice and the teen where she's explaining the tattoo. Like, again, just a little bit more. For me, it's not what was in the episode. I loved the episode, but it's what the episode did not have in it that's the issue. Like, I find the writing very strong, but I think that because I knew it was only a half an hour episode, there was less tension in the task, because the task was
over and done with.
Yeah. I wish that we'd spent, like, maybe a few more minutes on the road talking about what the rule... I know they were like,
on the road,
if we just follow the ballad, I get that, but, like, show us the road. Like, she was like, we don't have anywhere to go, and they immediately found the house. I think that they should have wandered the road a bit longer before they did that.
I think that, the hallucinations are... I think for what they were trying to portray, I think they were really quite effective. Again, I just feel they should have lingered a little bit more on them. Again, I think it's just that case of just the whole running thing for me, at least, is just I really wish we kind of had more time in this episode, in this world that we are presented with. You know, their costumes are really interesting in their house, and it's just kind of wish we kind of spent a little bit more time there. And should we talk about Sharon? And because I think that's kind of the big takeaway. I mean, one of the things I believe is that it wasn't a shock to see her go. I mean, at the end of the day, is anyone really dead? But you know, it wasn't a shock. It was just like, well, you know, we all knew that was coming because she was out of place. It would have been more shocking if Lydia had gone. You know, somebody who we didn't have any, you know, questions answered, you know, just goes, and we're like, that's a shock. You know, to harken back to the Game of Thrones thing, you know, every week, oh, I know, I really liked him. You know, we didn't have that here with Agatha all along. So it wasn't a shock, and it was kind of felt a bit inconsequential. And the stakes just didn't feel. Even though somebody died at the end of this trial, you know, it still doesn't feel as though the stakes are high enough, because at the end of the day, she didn't belong there. And, you know, because she was so much of a fish out of water, it just felt like, oh, this was definitely going to happen anyway.
I'm sad she's gone.
Yes.
I would have liked to continue to... again, I'm in love with each one of these characters to a big degree. Like, I really am enjoying seeing them flourish. But I think we need to show the road as a threat more. Like, that's why I think we should have spent a little bit more time just walking the road. Answering the teen's question, is it an eternal night? What are the boundaries here? Like, can they encounter other covens? Like, is everybody just dropping into the same... Like, we know that the road changes for the coven. And I want to get into how much I love what they're doing with Jennifer's character. Because having her be a clean witch and having this, like, clean girl, Gwyneth Paltrow group aesthetic, I think it's such a fun choice to modernize witchcraft in that way. Because we've got Lilia, who's a very kind of, like, you know, she's a kooky old tarot card reader. It is a stereotype that I feel like it would be pointless if none of them were the stereotype. It would not, like, play well if, like, none of them fit into a witchy stereotype. But having this kind of, like, because the clean girl crystal era is very much what witchcraft kind of is on Tumblr and Twitter. And so I think that, like, that's such a good, informed choice and almost a different stereotype to break about Jen specifically. I just think it's a very interesting and, like, thought out choice. And also having, like, the Ballad of Witches Road having been, like, the 70s on, like, rock anthem is so fun too. I just think they're making so many fun choices, and it just does feel like this return to the WandaVision creativity of what you can do with this universe. Like, it feels very much like world building rather than just like, this is a shot of action, this is a shot of action, this is a shot of action. Like, we're talking about what witchcraft means, and the fun little references. Lilia being like, I had a friend once who had a lovely house and she climbed in an oven. That's the kind of fun writing that I'm so here for, and so keeps me so engaged. I thought there were some very interesting setups in this episode. I'm very curious about, like, Jen getting bound. So curious. And Agatha saying you were doing such important work. I hope that's a link to man thing. God, I hope that's a link to man thing. Ah! What are your hopes and dreams?
In life? No, in Agatha all along, I'm assuming. For the episodes to come, like, I want to be able to appreciate the aesthetic of these different trials. Mm-hmm. When they set foot in that house and their costume changed, I immediately was just like, oh, we're back in WandaVision mode. And that, you know, I got a kick out of that. And, you know, the dialogue, when it kind of starts zipping around, it really, like, plays off really well. When the five of them that are playing off of each other, it really does work. And I'm looking forward to when Aubrey Plaza gets stuck into that.
Which I think will be next week. But But before we do anything else, spoiler, it's time for... I know this is your favourite segment. This week, I have a new instrument. Last week, I had a glockenspiel. This week, would you like to tell the people who are audio only what I have?
So the people who are audio only, Hannah currently have a pair of bongos.
Are you happy?
I'm ecstatic.
Is this your favourite segment?
Do you want to give it a go?
Wanda Watch. The good news is, One Dimension! Yay! I mean, in a sad way. So, Mrs. Hart's hallucination was obviously a flashback to Wanda choking Mr. Hart in WandaVision, which is a traumatic...
Is it episode 2, was it?
No, it's the very first episode. It's the
one?
very first episode.
Okay.
And it's... What's interesting is it's a black heart is marked in the calendar in that episode, and we know that a black heart was on the piece of paper that Lilia gave to the teen and Agatha. So, very interesting little detail. I also noticed that there was a stalk on the wall in the house, reference to WandaVision, the stalk being in WandaVision. I just do feel like there's little references to Wanda being littered throughout. That was Wanda Watch for this week.
A witch is really just another name for a bad girl. Is that right?
That is extremely reductive. We are not a monolith. And you know, I blame Halloween. Do you see any pointy hats in here? Any green skin? Any brooms? No, sir.
Okay, we are now entering leak territory. Huge spoilers. If you do not want to be spoiled for the identities of characters in the show, turn off. I'm not kidding. I don't want to hear anything about how you were spoiled in the comments. Ready? Ready? Okay. Those leaks, though. I mean,
Did we literally say last week about toy companies giving away leaks?
I don't remember, but
I'm pretty sure that was a topic of conversation. One of our little conversations we had, maybe on
I
off
think
mic.
I think I was saying because that's why the Funkos were releasing so late is to avoid
leaks because it's happened before where Lego has released stuff. Yeah, Lego were an example, but yeah, geez.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is why I think that like, why couldn't they have just not put that on the back of the box?
Nope.
They should have just released the Funko as a singular one.
Mm-hmm.
Put it out right now. They literally, the release date is literally December to try and avoid leaks, and this still happened, which is crazy. Well, because once the box was out there, the box was going to be out. Like, it feels like little foresight going into.
I mean, it's just like you just need a black, just a black silhouette and a question mark, or just a black silhouette and
it's just
Rio
because the
or
box
something.
I mean, yeah. I mean, why they couldn't put out a Funko? I mean, I think it's because I think her identity will be revealed next episode. Straight off.
So what we are talking about is the fact that Aubrey Plaza's character Rio
is
actually Lady Death, and Teen is actually
Wiccan. We don't need any clown music from me.
No,
Yay.
clown music is avoided
for this particular
thing.
I think that she's going to come out of the ground to claim Mrs. Hart.
Yeah.
And I think that Teens from, but you know that Ali Khan, not Ali, I've just forgotten her name. Alice's actress.
Yeah.
Also said that her favorite episode is episode 6 because Bar Mitzvah, which is also a huge spoiler that. I just think they should have put out the teen's identity kind of from the jump. I think this was never going to work, his identity being a secret. I think they could have kept the Aubrey Plaza secret a lot better if they had focused on the teen secret. I guess they didn't want him to have to answer questions about how he's back. But notice in the episode he said, a lot happened to me when I was 13. He's 16 now. 3 years ago, Wanda was in Westview.
Yeah.
So obviously his soul got popped into that body.
That's your theory.
Well, that's how it is in the comics, so.
Like I said last week, you don't get Aubrey Plaza playing a no-name character, and lo and behold, she's playing Thanos' love interest.
Deadpool's love interest,
and
too.
Deadpool's love interest. I mean, I would like to see Aubrey Plaza and Ryan Reynolds kind of...
That's what everybody has been saying.
Bounce off of each other.
To be fair, I just don't think that these spoilers massively affect the show if they had just been out from the beginning.
Because am I right in thinking that Lady Death has almost next to nothing to do with Agatha in the comics?
Nothing to do with Agatha in the comics. I think the only thing that it just confirms my theory that Agatha hates her because she took Nicholas Scratch away.
It wasn't specified that it was sold to Mephisto. It was specified that he was sold for the Darkhold.
Well, that's what the rumor is.
Yeah.
So I think I just don't think. I think they could have had this information out, and then they wouldn't have had to do all this. I mean, the reason they released everybody's identities originally is because Patti LuPone just told everybody in an interview.
She's worse than Tom Holland.
Yeah, she did. She sat in an interview and she was like, "This is when we're filming. This is who's in it. This is what we're doing."
You need Benedict Cumberbatch to sit next to her to keep her on track.
Literally, Benedict Uncle Pork needs to be there for everybody. I just think that, I'm excited. I am glad that he is Billy, that we've all been on the right track. The thing is when they were first talking about this show, when, it was kind of talked about specifically that he was Wiccan for the longest time, it was kind of an accepted fact, and then they tried to make it super mysterious, and I'm like, it was, the leaks came from so long ago. I don't think, again, it just doesn't spoil the show for me because I kind of already, I knew he was Billy. I knew that. Again, I didn't know for sure that Rio was Death. I thought that there was a chance that she was a bunch of other characters. But for me, I don't feel, super cheated. I think it's hilarious.
It's funny that it's Smith's Toys that did the releasing. That was the thing that kind of got me. Not the fact that it got leaked, because, these leaks happen all the time. But it's just really funny that it was Smith's Toys of all places.
I know, I was
If you're British,
I was waiting for the episode to air, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I was it said huge Agatha All Along spoilers from the back of the Funko, and I was and I had to double check that it was one of my really reliable Funko sources who wouldn't lie. I see it, and I was like, wonder where that's come from. Like, where's the leak? And I was like, oh, did it go to Target early? Because like often we get leaks, you know, for albums and stuff when Target get the vinyl and somebody takes a photograph of the track list or whatever. But then I saw the video from Smith's Toys, and I was like,
it is quite funny. I mean, I got a text message at 3:00 this morning telling me that big leak news has happened, and yeah, it was très amusant. You know, waking up this morning and literally social media is kind of full of it. So
I think that this could be very difficult for people. I mean, again, I think the Rio thing is only, and as far as I know, people who had seen the first 4 episodes already knew her identity anyway. So I think that she pops up next week. But I think there was a lot of clues in the trailers. But my theory is that most of the footage that we've seen is from the trailers is from the first 5 episodes, is very much like now coming to fruition, because next week's trial is Alice's trial, which is all the 70s stuff that they've been highly promoting. And then the week after that is Lilia's trial, which is sort of not as much in the promo material. And then after that, we only really have the shot of Agatha going, I want my prize, and last one there is a nice person. That's all we really have from the other episodes. And we had heard the tone change, and obviously I think in episode 6 we're going to get the teen's backstory. Again, I think that for me it's not a huge deal. I think it's funny where the leaks came from, but like, and I think that somebody's getting fired. It's down from Smith's Toys already.
I hope somebody got fired for that blunder. I kind of wish we were away. We kind of got away from character reveals being massive deals at the end of the day. Like, if your big twist is a character being revealed who a big sermon is, then I think that it not saying it is, but it does point towards lazy writing. I spoke about John Harrison and Khan last week. You know, that's lazy writing. I'm not saying this is lazy writing, and just, you know, you can do a whole lot more shocks than just, oh, this person is actually this character all along.
Well, yeah, I think we have that. See, my big theory now, getting into theory talk, is that Nicholas Scratch is going to end up becoming the living Darkhold, which is a recent concept from the comics. But in the comics, we recently established that actually you need a Darkhold because you need to have the balance between light and darkness. And Agatha's kind of darkness balances out Wanda's like good girlness in the current comics. And I think that that's where we're headed, is that we do need a Darkhold, because Wanda's destroyed every single copy now, and that Nicholas Scratch will become the living Darkhold is my personal guess at the like a working theory for where we're going next. What theories do you have?
Good point. I think it is going to be, I think a post-credits, because we got the leaks, I think a post-credits we're going to get on episode 9, season finale, will be something setting up with Wiccan meeting a young Avenger, or like going to the ruins of Wondagore or something, or maybe even Death going to Wondagore or something like that. You know, just resurrecting Wanda, or implying to resurrect Wanda.
Well, I think we might encounter, in the Witches Road comic, which is obviously a Wanda comic, this is a concept created for her. And all of these people who are on the road have a connection to Wanda in the comics. I think we might encounter Natalia Maximoff as in her birth mother, because Wanda's always been adopted in the comics. So yes, we saw her parents in WandaVision, but I think that there's a good chance that we're going to find out that Wanda is adopted, and I wouldn't be shocked if, again, in the comics, Lilia has a super important role in predicting Wanda's future. Like, that's one of her big prophecies, is that Wanda's going to become so important. So I wouldn't be shocked if maybe Lilia knew Natalia, and we're maybe going to, because it says spirits be our guide in the ballad, and we obviously know that all the rules of the ballad are true. So I think that possibly we'll encounter her, and she's going to recognize Billy kin for kin. Because I think that reveal's coming in 6, and we've got 3 episodes after that to kind of deal with the fallout. Because I obviously think Agatha's protecting him because she thinks that he's Nicholas Scratch. And us knowing that he isn't doesn't, for me, detract from Agatha's feelings. Because I she cries so much. She cried again this episode, and I'm like, Catherine Hahn does such a good job of, in this episode, going from this very fun character to being so serious so quickly.
And to not caring.
I love the moment where Lilia says, try to keep Agatha alive. Try to save Agatha even. Her expression for the split second before she goes into, I love that plan.
Yeah.
I just think that she's so good. Catherine Hahn deserves way more.
Yeah, she does.
Dramatic roles because she is so fluid as an actress. I think everybody's like acting their butt off in this. I really don't think anyone's being lazy.
I don't, if like I said, any complaints I have of the shows thus far, none of them are directed at the actress and performance involved. It is purely a writing thing and purely a commission thing based on the fact that there's not that much time to tell these stories.
Yeah, I wish that every episode was at least 45 minutes and that there were more of them.
Yes.
And I really envy everybody that gets to watch it as a consistent.
I don't. I kind of like. I kind of
like. I want to watch it right now. I wish it was one a day. So I could I don't know. I'm just greedy. I want more. I just love it so much. Like when I'm watching it, I'm so engaged and so happy. And like this is television to me.
We are living in the golden age of television.
Well, I'm just so happy. Like. It feels so good and fun to have a project this fun to talk about. Like, I enjoyed Hawkeye just fine, but I wasn't sitting theorizing all week.
I mean, the best part of Hawkeye was Kate Bishop and Yelena. That was the best part.
Did you watch the Thunderbolts trailer?
I have not seen the Thunderbolts trailer.
You should for next week. It's actually really fun.
Okay.
It looks really fun. Really excited for that too. I do think that Marvel's more focused approach on their projects is paying off. A lot of this was already pre-filmed, but they are clearly tightening up there.
So we're on to kind of Marvel as a whole now, which kind of comes up. It's going to come up. We are a Scarlet Witch focused podcast, but at the end of the day, the Scarlet Witch is part of Marvel, so we do have to talk about Marvel because it does affect her character. What worries me when you talk about how they are tightening things up a bit, which is great, what frightens me a little bit is a small character under the name of Peter Parker and the fact that his rights are involved with a movie studio that can't seem to do anything correct.
Except Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse, yes, but you start looking at all the behind-the-scenes stuff to do with Across the Spider-Verse, question marks even then are being raised. There was something in the news recently about the fact that only certain villains, Sony's going to be having veto of all the villains that they can use, which means that, it's led to reports of Peter Parker being the bigger hero when it comes to Doomsday, which I've made abundantly clear I want to see a street level Spider-Man movie.
Again, especially when I almost think that they own a lot of Daredevil's villains. I almost think that they could.
But a lot of the Daredevil villains, a lot of the Spider-Man villains, there was a lot of crossover.
I know. I was shocked when I found out that Sandman was a Fantastic Four villain for a long time. That shocked me. I did not know that. Again, not a big Fantastic Four reader. Have been delving more into them while I've been reading all of Agatha's comic history. I always loved Sue, but really hate Reed, so not a big.
That's not everyone hates Reed. I think they said that we've got to think about Marvel is focusing more on their characters, tightening them up. We've just got to be a bit more kind of careful with getting our hopes up with certain stuff. Marvel kind of does have their control, and if rumors are to be believed about Scarlet Witch movie kind of being released, then
Do you believe me now?
We'll see. I'm waiting for an announcement to appear on Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, Variety.
Or the Scarlet Witch will return.
Or seeing the Scarlet Witch will return, which will probably end up on the episode 9 credits.
When it does, and when we're you know what? We're not gonna watch the episode together because I am going home on Halloween to my parents' house. So instead, I shall just go like this on the phone. I win! Vindication!
You blow up my mic again.
Yeah, that's what I'm here
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
If your mic can't keep up with me, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, so we are getting a little bit more focused on Marvel characters and kind of nailing down a cohesive story. And it sounds a lot more like they're figuring out where we're at. Just my worry is that Phase 4 and kind of how all that started kicking off, where it just seemed really, really sporadic and seemed very, very sparse in terms of their focus. Like that worries me a little bit. I just want to watch good movies at the end of the day.
I am just interested in being excited about, that's what I want. I want for every project that comes out for me to be like, I can't wait to go to cinema and see that. And so for both Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts, I feel that way. I feel really, really interested in seeing both of those projects and seeing how they pan out. I think that they are looking to do something interesting with the Thunderbolts, and that I love a vintage. I am so excited to see a vintage superhero movie. We haven't really gotten that since. I mean, Captain Marvel was in the 90s. But
First Avenger was the
kind of ultimate vintagey. I would have loved to have spent longer in that era of Cap, and we didn't get to. But to go all the way back around to Agatha All Along, my final thoughts are that I cannot get enough of this show, and I wish they would give me more. I just do. I love the witchy references throughout. I adore this cast. I hope they all get a chance to shine in future projects. I definitely think we're keeping Jennifer Kale. My prediction is we're keeping Jennifer. I think Alice will maybe... I think she'll maybe pop up and she would be a good Jessica Jones kind of side character. And I hear that Jessica's on her way back to us, which I so hope. I love a hopeless case. My favourites are Yelena, Jessica, and Wanda.
running theme there with the three of them.
Sad girls. I wonder why.
I think on that note, we should wrap up.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening. I am Hannah. You can find me over on TikTok at Into the Wonderverse, on Instagram at The Wonderverse, Twitter Into the Wonderverse, and Threads The Wonderverse.
And you can find me on Twitter at Nick S. Chadler. My handle on TikTok is TheFilmNick,
which you never post on.
which I will post on eventually. And my website is superatomovision.com, where I've written about Marvel properties on there.
Thank you very much to Melody Ray Griffiths, who does our music, to the wonderful Lili, who did our podcast art, who is so talented. And if you don't check her out, I will appear at the foot of your bed as your sleep paralysis demon. But until then, stay magical.
Agatha!